platinum was cold. That's what Leo Morty noticed first, standing on the penthouse doorstep of his mistress, Selene. His wife's wedding band, lying in a seam of concrete, was ice cold. The December wind off Lake Michigan couldn't claim credit. This was the cold of abandonment. The second thing he noticed was the blood. A dried, rust-brown galaxy crusted in the inner curve, the part that would have rested against the skin of a woman he hadn't truly seen in years. ELARA, his wife. For 7 years, ELARA had been the silence in his stormy world. He was Leo Morty, heir to a Chicago syndicate, a man who dealt in shouts and gunfire and the language of leverage. She was the quiet art historian, the mother of his son, the steady hum of a refrigerator you only notice when it stops. He'd come to Selene's for a birthday dinner, a lavish gesture for his first love, the brilliant, demanding ballet dancer who never let him forget what passion felt like. He'd stepped right over his wife's ring to get to her. The ring didn't gleam, it accused. His mind, a supercomputer for threats and profit margins, simply froze. He crouched there, a king brought low by a gram of metal. He didn't pick it up. He was afraid of what it meant. Just that morning, he'd left his own marble mausoleum of a home. ELARA was at the long table, their son Mateo drawing beside her. He'd mumbled something about a meeting. She looked up, her eyes the color of a distant sky, and reminded him it was his night for dinner with Mateo. He'd brushed it off. She accepted it. She always accepted it. That was her crime, he'd thought, that quiet acceptance. Now he saw it for what it was, the slow, careful coiling of a spring. He called her phone, straight to voicemail. Her calm, recorded voice felt like a relic from a dead civilization. He called the housekeeper. The woman's voice was trembly. Mrs. Morty and Mateo had left that afternoon, with suitcases. She left an envelope. Suitcases, the word was alien, he'd never seen her pack. Her life had simply appeared in the drawers of his house like sediment settling. Now it had been upheaved. The envelope held no letter, no angry note. Just a single, crisp legal document, a petition for divorce, filed 2 weeks prior. The cold, administrative finality of it was a different kind of violence. This wasn't a cry for attention. This was a strategic retreat, and the blood on the ring. For 48 hours, Leo Morty, a man who could find anyone, found nothing. ELARA CONTI had vanished like a ghost who decided the haunting wasn't worth the rent. She'd used cash, buses, a chain of mundane movements that left no digital heat signature. She planned this. His quiet wife was a tactical genius. The break came from a grainy bus station, photo 200 miles away. A woman in a hoodie, a small boy's hand in hers. They'd bought a ticket to Albuquerque but got off in a nowhere town called Cedar Fork. A town whose only notable feature, his consigliere reported with palpable discomfort, was a women's shelter. A women's shelter. The words detonated in Leo's chest. The blood on the ring took on new, horrifying shapes. Had she been hurt? Was she running from him? Had his indifference become a climate so toxic she needed sanctuary from it? The possibility dismantled him, piece by armored piece. He roared into Cedar Fork in a town car worth more than the town. He found the shelter, a modest brick building wearing a coat of fading paint. The director, a woman with kind eyes and a spine of forged iron, met him on the steps. She didn't let him in. "She doesn't want to see you, Mr. Morty. Your son is safe. He's having cocoa. He told me they're on an adventure. He didn't mention you." And then the knife twist of clarity delivered with devastating pity. The blood was hers. A nosebleed. Mateo got scared, so she took the ring off to clean it. And then she said she just couldn't put it back on. The weight of it finally broke something. A nosebleed, not an attack, not a wound from his world. Just the physical proof of a pressure that had built and built in silence until a tiny vessel burst. Her suffering had been so quiet, so internal, he hadn't even been its author, just the cause. The relief was drowned by a tsunami of shame. He didn't storm the gates. For the first time in his life, Leo surrendered. He waited. He sat in his car for 8 hours, watching a single lit window in the shelter, feeling the vast, empty space where his certainty used to live. When she emerged, it was to walk Mateo to the town's only diner. She wore jeans, a simple sweater. She looked younger. She looked real, and he saw her, truly saw her. The way she held Mateo's hand, not as an accessory, but as an anchor. The way her eyes scanned the street, not in fear, but with a calm, assessing vigilance he recognized from his best lieutenants. She'd always been on guard. She'd just been guarding their son from a different kind of danger, the cold neglect of his own father. He watched through the diner window. He saw her smile at something Mateo said. It was a smile that reached her eyes, uncalculated, a flower cracking through concrete. He realized he hadn't seen that smile in years. He'd been too busy looking at Selene's dramatic, performative joy. He took a motel room that smelled of mildew and regret. His phone blew up, a war brewing with the Irish, Selene's furious texts. He silenced it all. The only empire that mattered now was the one happening in a vinyl diner booth. The reckoning came, as it always did in his world, with violence, but not from him. O'Brien, the Irishman, had caught the scent of his vulnerability. Two enforcers rolled into Cedar Fork, found ELARA and Mateo walking home at dusk. Leo saw it from his car. He was moving before he thought, but he was too far away. He saw ELARA step in front of their son, but she didn't cower. She stood straight. She looked the passenger in the eye and she spoke. Leo couldn't hear the words, but he saw her raise her hand, a clean, halting gesture, a queen's gesture. The car idled. Then it sped away. When Leo reached her, his heart a wild animal in his ribs, her face was serene. "What did you say to them?" he begged. She told him. She said that O'Brien wouldn't appreciate his men threatening the woman who'd saved the Chicago territory deal by remembering his wife's dog's name, and that they should leave before her husband, who was undoubtedly watching, decided to make their deaths a lesson. She had used his own world, his own power. But she had wielded the weapon herself, with a precision he'd never credited her with. She hadn't hidden. She stood her ground and protected what was hers. She had, in that moment, revealed herself as the strongest soldier he'd ever known. They stood on the cracked sidewalk, the distance between them a canyon carved by 7 years of indifference. "The blood I thought," he stammered. "I know what you thought," she said, her voice still so damnably calm. "That's the problem, Leo. You only see stories written in bullets. You never learn to read the one written in quiet sighs." "Come home," he pleaded, the words ash in his mouth. "Why?" she asked. A simple, devastating question. "Give me one reason that isn't about guilt or obligation or something you think you own." He opened his mouth. The wind answered for him, whistling through the empty street. He had nothing. Every reason he possessed was exactly what she'd named. He looked at his son, peeking from behind his mother's legs, looking at him not with love, but with the cautious curiosity reserved for a strange, potentially dangerous animal. Leo Moretti, who had taken everything he ever wanted, had nothing to offer. No leverage, no threat, no grand gesture that could bridge the desolation he had built. The bloodstained ring was in his pocket. It was no longer a symbol of what he'd lost. It was a relic of something he'd never truly possessed in the first place. And the silence he was left with now wasn't her quiet companionship. It was the deafening roar of his own empty empire.